right, welcome everybody to the Tuesday, August 22nd, 2003 business meeting. If we could stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty, and justice for all.
All right, now if we could have a roll call.
Director Adler?
Here.
Director Cunningham?
Here.
Director Hudson? Director Mueller?
Here.
Director Staton?
Here.
Vice President Byers?
Here.
And President Petroff?
Here. All right, we have a quorum tonight. Next on the agenda is public comment. I believe we have Mr. Glass. Please speak. Mr. Glass, I just want to remind you, not but tell you, welcome to the Special School District of St. Louis County Board of Elected Board of Education business meeting. Up to 30 minutes of each Board of Education business meeting will be set aside to hear public comment. The Board of Education values your input and takes a brief comment. Each comment was limited to 3 minutes and to address any items that is a legitimate part of the business of the board. No confidential or personnel-related topics are allowed. Comments will be read in the order that they were received by email, and the contents of the email and the sender's name and address will be submitted to the Secretary of the Board and become part of the official public record of the meeting. Thank you very much. It's been a hot day.
Yeah.
All right, you can go ahead.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for letting me speak. I appreciate it. My name is Tony Glass. I'm with Central States Bus Sales. Recently, you just had a bid. It would be under item L, under your consensual items bid and award approval. I'm here tonight just to point a couple things out. Central States Bus was the only bid to meet special school district specifications on the bid. In section F, special school district asked for gas engine buses, but based on the agenda, the special school district is recommending awarding a diesel, which was labeled as an alternate offer. Again, we were the only ones that came that actually met the specification of doing a gas engine bus as opposed to a diesel. Now again, diesel on there was said to be an alternate offer. But under section E, the district reserves the right to accept other than the lowest cost proposal if an alternate proposal is considered to be more advantageous to the district based on factors other than cost at the sole discretion of the district. Now, I understand that except for a gas bus would be a savings of $20,000 over the life of the bus per diesel bus. That's over $400,000 in savings. This includes fuel costs and parts. The other topic I would like to bring to the board's attention is we were not only able to meet but beat your specified delivery time, as opposed to my competitor who gave an answer of summer of 24 without a specific date. And in the specification, it was required that it's no later than February 29th of 2024. And it also said the following delivery schedule is required. Suppliers unable to meet this delivery schedule should not submit a proposal. Again, part of this was the district may charge the bidder $100 per bus per day until the buses are delivered to the district. Central States Bus is strongly suggesting that the Board of Special School District either throw out the bid of my competitor, which doesn't even meet the most basic requirement of delivery time, or push this bid back to give all participants in this particular bid the same opportunity to bid on a level playing field. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, do we have a motion on the table for the approval of the agenda? Is there a second?
Okay.
And all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Yes. Yes, until she can. Thank you. Do we have a second for that? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Thank you. Superintendent report 4.01, we've got the 2023-24 SSD local compliance plan and the 2023-24 general assurance document.
Susan Henry is our Director of
compliance, and she will be updating the board on our 23-24 compliance plan.
Good evening, President Petroff, members of the Board of Education, Dr. Keenan. As Dr. Keenan said, my name is Susan Henry. I'm the Director of Compliance for SSD, and making my annual appearance to talk to you about our local compliance plan. A little background before we get started. The Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, of course, is the law under which we all operate under. And it requires states and school districts to have in effect policies and procedures and programs that are consistent with federal policies and procedures concerning the provision of special ed. To that end, in order to meet those IDEA requirements, DESE has in place their Missouri State Plan for Special Education. State plan includes all the rules and regulations that school districts need to comply with in order to implement the IDEA requirements. In particular, Regulation 15 details the rules that guide us in implementing the state statute that established a special school district. So that's a real important one for us. To further meet federal and state requirements, DESE also requires that each school district adopt a local compliance plan, and they provide a model for us that we can adopt. You can also come up with your own, but none of us really want to reinvent the wheel. So we'd rather stay compliant with DESE and adopt theirs. The local compliance plan is an abbreviated version of the state plan. So it boils down everything that the school districts are required to comply with to be compliant, whereas the state plan is a broader document. It includes requirements that the state has to meet compliance for. The local compliance plan has to be approved by each district's Board of Education. Regulation 15 of the state plan further requires that special school districts and component districts have assurances in place related to areas of joint and separate compliance for each district. And we use something called a general assurance document, which is an abbreviated version of that Regulation 15. And that outlines the components of special ed that each district has some compliance responsibilities for. So, for example, where do we have joint and separate compliance for issues related to child find, identifying students with disabilities? Where do we have separate and joint compliance with implementation of IEPs or with ensuring a restricted environment is available for students? So it outlines all those things that together we're responsible for. Partner districts are required to sign an assurance statement, and that's their commitment to comply with the general assurance document. And those assurance statements are due to DESE by October 1st. The assurance statement boils down the general assurance document. If you look at this visual, it kind of shows you how things start filtering down. You start with IDEA, then we have to have our Missouri plan, then we have a local plan, and then we have that general assurance document that really only applies to St. Louis County, to special school district, and one other school district in Missouri. So why are we bringing this to you tonight? Every year, at least usually every year, DESE updates their Missouri State Plan for Special Education. When they do that, then of course that makes corresponding changes to the local plan. And so that means we have to reapprove everything. So this year, the changes they made were pretty minor. There really wasn't anything significant that's going to impact our practice. They did add some wording to Regulation 1, which is kind of their just general provision section of the state plan, just specifying that service plans that are designated for students who are non-public students, that they're for students who are enrolled in nonprofit and private elementary or secondary schools. It used to just say private schools, so they just further clarified that. The other thing that's, I think, a good thing is in Regulation 4, they added wording that designates MOCAP host districts are the agencies that are responsible for providing a free, appropriate public education to students. And when the law passed requiring school districts to provide virtual instruction, and there were provisions allowing certain districts to be hosts for those virtual instruction programs, those host districts were required to provide special education to students who enrolled in those virtual programs. But the state plan hadn't caught up to that yet. So DESE updated it, so it's just now memorializing what was designated in the new law. Regulation 5, again, they memorialize a long-standing requirement. They said that we now need to provide the parents' bill of rights for students with disabilities every time we provide the procedural safeguards. That's been a long-standing requirement that we've already been doing for many, many years. They just had never put it in the state plan before as a requirement. So that really is not going to affect our practice at all. And then last, every year, they seem to add some changes or make some additions to the personnel standards. So they did update some qualifications mostly related to instruction for students who are visually impaired and added a new job title, Teacher Accessible Assistive Technology. And that rolls right off the tongue when you're trying to explain that role. I think we probably already have people who fit this role and are assistive technology facilitators that, you know, are also teachers. So again, we've already been doing some things that DESE is now specifying. And those were, and I think a lot of these changes, I know they were, the changes were for these positions were in response to the passage of the BRIGHT Act, which went into effect this past school year, which is an act requiring more engagement of students who have visual impairments and blindness in the general education environment. So DESE has updated that state plan. That triggers the need for SSD to update our local compliance plan. And then, of course, we'll be collecting new assurance statements from our partner districts. So tonight, we're seeking board approval of that new local compliance plan for the upcoming school year.
Good question. And maybe I should know this answer, but I apologize. Is there a way that we can send out the partnership agreement at the same time the insurance plans goes out?
Well, I'm not sure I can answer that. I'm not sure when those.
Maybe it's just me, but it would seem like it would be a good idea.
Yeah. Well,
And-
we usually have to wait until DESE updates the state plan, and then they require them back by October 1. So we usually have this small window to provide them, which is about now until October 1. So depending on when the partnership agreements go out, that might be something we can consider.
It would just be a good idea to link those two together, because I think, especially since now we're saying partnership plan should at least be dealt with the governing council person, the board. Those are all concepts that should go together.
And we asked for the partnership agreement to be signed by October 2, so.
Okay, perfect.
But linking them together, I like that idea, that they see.
Yeah, I mean,
components together.
those are two things that should go. It tells you why the partnership plan is important, and the insurance plan, they have to have. So, I mean, it would be a good idea to link those two together. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you.
Real quick, just Director Hudson was supposed to be sent to move on. For 4.02, we have the Special Non-Public Access Plan Program, SNAP, pilot presentation.
Good evening, President Patroff, Board of Directors, Dr. Keenan. My name is Kelly Grigsby. I'm Executive Director for Schools and Programs, which includes the SNAP program. A little bit of background information. Sorry, skipped on me. Maybe I just don't know how to work.
You're good.
Okay. As you indicated when you were introducing the presentation, SNAP stands for Special Non-Public Access Program. SNAP funding comes from proportionate share funds, which are federal entitlement funds. This PowerPoint does not match what I'm going off of. I'm not sure why that's the case, but I'll go with it. All right, sorry about that. You have a copy. Your copy matches what I have. Okay, all right. Proportionate share funding comes from DESE, but again, it comes from federal entitlement funds. Funding is calculated based on the number of students who qualify for SNAP. So over the last 2 years, we have been reporting to the state the number of students who have been participating in SNAP, not the number of students who have qualified. And so that we were notified last spring that because of that, the way that we were reporting that, we were not accessing, close to $1.7 million. That, yeah, I know, right? Pretty big deal. So moving forward, we have corrected that information. What we found out is that the calculations indicated that we have a carryover fund that we're moving forward, and also we'll be working with almost double the funds moving forward. I want to also be very clear that this is not part of our general operating fund. This is separate. So in this presentation, we'll be talking a little bit about that. So when we were notified that we were not necessarily reporting the information correctly, we were also contacted by an advocacy group requesting that we consider providing on-site services for SNAP. Currently, we're providing services for SNAP after school at 23 of our public school buildings and 14 of our 22 partner districts. The services we provide through SNAP, that's not an IEP, that's for an instructional plan, which is different than an IEP. The services that we provide include learning strategies, organizational strategies, social skills, speech, language, services for students who are deaf or hard of hearing, occupational and physical therapy. Students can access up to 180 minutes a week. They're provided either at the SNAP location after school, or they're provided through dual enrollment, where students go to their local school during the school day to access services. So when we figured out that we have a larger fund that we have available to us to provide services, we consulted with our consultation team. So SNAP has a consultation team that's made up of stakeholders, our non-public partners, and also members from special school district. During that, we determined that we needed to ask our stakeholders how they would like to see us provide services, and if there was a different way that we could add to the services that we're providing. The results of that indicated that they would like us to consider providing SNAP services on site in their locations during the school days. So based on that, we came together and developed a proposed pilot. We shared the proposed pilot with the consultation team last month, and then we're coming to you to give you some information with regards to what that would look like. We're looking at an implementation date of 2024, this January 2024. The pilot program would serve students from each of our non-public partners. So in your PowerPoint, you have a SNAP pilot program slide number 6. And in there is outlined the Archdiocese schools, both north and south. We work with our Archdiocese partners to identify which schools would like to participate. There is one change on this. Since we prepared this presentation, St. Rose is closing. We thought Blessed Calcutta was closing, but now they're staying open for a year. So there is a little bit of flexibility in this. So we're looking at providing services to Archdiocese School North, Archdiocese School South. There are Jewish day schools, which are 4, Saul Mirowitz, and then 2 of the Christ Community Lutheran schools, servicing students kindergarten through 8th grade. SNAP services will still be provided as we have been providing them after school. So families will have an option to participate either in the on-site program at the school or continue in the after-school program, whatever meets their needs the best. So what we're here tonight to do is to share a little bit of information about the pilot, but also to request that we don't currently have, we have our SNAP teachers and occupational therapists, speech path PTs are all part-time hourly employees. Many are retired, some are employees that work for us during the day and then do additional work at night. In order for us to be able to implement the pilot, we will need full-time teachers, SNAP teachers, physical therapists, occupational therapists, and speech and language pathologists. And so we're asking, we don't currently have those job descriptions, so you have a copy of the job descriptions requested that would outline the duties in those roles. We're also asking for an additional SNAP coordinator to help with the administrative piece. We have a lot of work to do with regards to projections, implementation, programming, et cetera, establishing new programs, and then also additional clerical staff, so 1 secretary position. Other things that we need to consider, which will also come out of the additional funding, would be mileage, supplies and instructional materials, laptops, technology, and access to printers and copiers. So next step is to approve the positions moving forward. We will post the coordinator and the secretarial positions. We'll partner with the pilot schools to determine family interests and allocate those full-time teacher equivalents based on what we need. I don't have a total number of what we need right now because we haven't been able to project accurately who wants to participate, how many people are qualified, who's still enrolled in the schools. We're still working on that. And then we will post, once we figure that out, we will post those SDE positions and then roll out the pilot in January. Any questions? Dr. Myers?
When you think you have an idea of how many
We do have to figure that out. In our minds, we would post the administrative position and the secretarial position. We would have that filled, but in the meantime, as we're working with our private partners, they're starting to come back to school. This is the time when they're electing which, if they're gonna participate, who the newly enrolled students are. I would guess by the middle of the fall, we would have that information, mid-October. Absolutely.
That would be great.
You have maybe,
When you're ready,
okay,
like October, November.
okay,
Yeah,
great.
But I'm just gonna say, I think we're gonna be supportive of this. We just wanna have an idea of what the numbers are.
Absolutely. We do too. I think it is exciting. I think, we'll have a lot of families that are very interested, especially families that have difficulty accessing after school.
I think it's our job to provide the service, so.
Absolutely, I'll come back with those numbers. Thank you.
I have a comment, just as a former SNAP teacher, like teaching social skills in small groups after school is one thing, but being able to be in schools and address behaviors or coach teachers and just meet student needs right there is just important for student development. So I'm really excited about it.
Great, thank you. That's good.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
No,
We're here to please.
no. Here's what I would like. First of all, when do you think we can start this?
We're looking at a rollout in January of this year, 2024, and that's in your PowerPoint as well. If we can roll it out sooner, we will, but I don't anticipate that that's going to happen. We're going to have to navigate the teachers, finding teachers, finding therapists, and deal with them all.
I can see, especially for some counties, we have large numbers of students there that are in private, either Catholic or liberal schools. I mean, so you will end up going far increase, whenever it might be. This is extremely important. Is there a way that we, especially with the RCA, is there a way that we can somehow let them know to their own harmony? This is a large undertaking. And it will do much. Right now, the Archdiocese of St. Louis spends $350,000. I mean, this is a massive amount.
Just to assure you, the financial and the academic directors, I'm not sure what their titles are, they're both on the consultation team and have both been active in this process. So we're absolutely, once we get it up and running, absolutely, you could toot our own horns all over the county.
Okay, no, I'd like to toot our horn to the new Archbishop.
That's great.
And I, at some point, especially before we end up having to go to a tax increase, I'd like him to realize what we're doing part of it, and for the schools.
Sounds good to me.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else?
We would like to ask, thank you for this presentation tonight. Representing whole North County schools and districts, I'm curious what consideration you paid to equal access to this across the region.
We considered making sure that we were equitable across religious and denominations and also geographical locations. We based our pilot on schools that were recommended by each of the denominations. So our archdiocese recommended these schools. So we were equitable in how we were making sure we were encouraging participation across the board and geographically. As far as numbers, until we have those numbers, it's going to be difficult to know demographics with regard to race, socioeconomics, participation, things like that. That's all information that we're going to consider. And when we give an update on how this is going and how we would like to expand it, which is we're hoping we'll be able to do that, we'll be able to take those into consideration even more so.
Will smaller schools be able to opt in Are you hoping that in the future?
I'm hoping that if we have enough funds, we'll include as many schools as possible. We have to gauge interest, and so we wanted something that was manageable. We also wanted a large enough pool to be able to give us good data to know, both anecdotally and quantitatively, to be able to know what's working, what isn't working, and what we committed to our consultation team is we're going to implement this, and it's not going to go away, and we're going to fix it. So if it's not working, we're going to make sure.
And you're taking into consideration some schools that don't want to.
Absolutely. We do have schools that are not interested. Many of our high schools are not interested in participating. I also think we'll have some families that are not interested in having their students pulled out of academics to participate in special education if they can access it after school. So we don't want to remove the supports that are currently in place for families that it's working for, but we do want to bring supports and services to students who may not be accessing because it's not workable for their family situation or whatever extenuating circumstances.
Definitely different for student athletes.
Any of those things. There are definitely a lot of barriers. We're hoping we're going to reach more students, which our whole goal is to do what's in the best interest of students and be supportive of families. Thank you. Sorry about the PowerPoint situation.
No? All right, next on our agenda is 4.03, paraprofessionals, professional learning.
Supports to our paraprofessionals, so they're going to update us on all the learning opportunities that we had this summer.
Good evening, President Patrick, Board of Education. Dr. Seated, my name is Molly Moulton, and I am the Executive Director of Teaching, Learning, and Accountability. And we are here tonight to talk to you, give you lots of information, actually, about what's going on with our paraprofessionals. Next slide, please. Oh, no, sorry. Go back. Right. So the purpose of our presentation tonight is threefold. First of all, we want to give you some updates on the results and findings from last school year and the plans for this school year as it relates to professional learning with our paraprofessionals. We also want to give you an update on how the summer wellness camp went this summer with our parents and talk a little bit about our para coaches and the scope of their work as well as their impact measures. So tonight I do have with me our Director of Professional Learning, Tina Machek, and our paraprofessional facilitator, Kevin Barr.
President Patra, Vice President Byers, members of the board, Dr. Keenan, thank you for having me. As Dr. Bolton said, we're here to just kind of update a little bit about paraprofessional professional learning. So what we have in place is a 3-year paraprofessional academy program. When paraprofessionals are onboarded with us, they enter this academy program, and we have prescribed supports for them throughout their first 3 years. So in their first year, they attend a new paraprofessional orientation session. It's their first 4 days as an employee. They attend with us, and we cover many topics, a lot of things that are DESE mandated, and plus a lot of other things that we know are beneficial for our students. We spend a lot of time on student behavior management strategies with our parents. It's something that they report back that they want support in, and so we spend a lot of time on that. We talk about prompting and student independence and other things that will be relevant to them in the classroom. But we also partner with HR and the FACE team and DEI and Dr. Macklin to really expose the new hires to the scope of the district and the resources that are available to them. As they enter their second year with us, they are entering into the second year for Para Academy, and so they have 4 strands of learning that they're going to have a conversation with their supervisor about and decide which of these 4 strands of learning is going to be most applicable to them, most relevant to their specific positions. So currently, those strands are autism, student behavior management, numeracy, and literacy strategies. So they'll choose one of these routes to investigate throughout the year through our professional development that we have asynchronously online. And then in their third year, they'll continue down that same route if they're in the same position, so that they'll get an extended piece of learning on that. If they've switched positions or if there's a change in their expectations, they have the ability to adjust and to pivot from there.
We really wanted to make sure that we have paras doing such diverse things throughout the district in so many different learning environments that we want to have learning available that is specifically catered to each of them. Ran our Para Academy the last two years, and we have information here for you about the numbers for it. So we have hired 755 new paraprofessional staff since July 2021. All of those members have gone through our first year para orientation and then the subsequent years afterwards. You can see that they have reported back that they are finding the learning is above average or outstanding. We have 98%. We found a lot of value in that. We have, if you look at our second year and third year courses, the most popular courses for paras choose are the autism strategies and the behavior management courses. So we're taking that into mind as we advance further into this program. We've had good numbers of people who registered for these courses, and of those people who registered, 75% of them did complete that professional learning. Apart from the academy program, we also have a lot of other professional learning opportunities for professionals.
As Kevin stated, as Mr. Hart stated, these just give a snapshot of additional professional learnings that have been provided around the county or in specific districts at the request of the special education director in order to help support some of our veteran paras as well, in order to help some of that teaming and collaboration between teachers and paraprofessionals. And so this just paints that snapshot of some of those events. Just as a side note, we use Kickup, our course management system, as our data source. And so there could be additional professional learning that is occurring, but not being maintained in that way. And that really connects to some of our next steps too, to help shore that up so we really can get a good and accurate count of the professional learning that is going on in the county across the district. So connected to that also, just wanted to highlight our professional learning offered this summer for paraprofessionals, and we refer to it as the Wellness Camp, kind of having that summer feel, if you will, to really help paraprofessionals be physically, mentally, and emotionally prepared for the school year. And so you see the 20 sessions, a snapshot of those 20 sessions that were offered across 10 days in July, and to really meet that objective. We were able to offer seats in each of those 20 sessions up to a capacity of 120 paraprofessionals. And we had, within hours of advertising the Summer Wellness Camp, we had registration full with a healthy wait list. So the interest was certainly there for the 2-week camp. Attendance, because that was another factor, being interested in May is different than what I might attend in July. And so we did have an average daily attendance rate of 85%. So we thought that was, for our first shot out of the gate, that was pretty good. As well, just to highlight kind of the resources that went into the camp, certainly Mr. Har was integral in coordinating this event and pulled from about 15 different instructors from SSD. We heavily relied on utilizing courses through our employee assistance program, so really working directly with benefits to pull that resource into a number of the sessions, and then administrators were also a part of the sessions. A little bit of feedback from those sessions. We had over 700 responses to our professional learning evaluation across those 20 sessions. And so I think what these data highlight was the positive perception of the learning experiences, as well as the value for feeling it was going to advance their skill set in their work with students and have that impact on student achievement. Just wanted to share some snapshots with you of direct feedback from paraprofessionals. So we really did take these from the open-ended responses from the survey. And so I think that gives you a snapshot of the merit and worth from all areas of feeling connected to SSD.
really hitting upon feeling valued as an employee of the district, and as well as the strategies being helpful to them. They could foresee them being helpful to them. And then as another component, I believe when we approached the idea of this in last year, was so that folks, paras would have the opportunity to engage in learning and have a paid experience throughout the summer as well. And so that was positively received and noted in the feedback. So the opportunities for improvements that were noted, I think this highlights like more in depth, more time to really collaborate and get, have that camaraderie with one another. And so that's the ask, as well as some opportunities to share with presenters. I think that feedback was very well-rounded and speaks to really the need and the ask for moving forward. So some next steps that we have identified, and these are really kind of getting started. So we have the perspective of the paraprofessionals as to the feedback. We now are in that stage of collecting feedback from other stakeholders, from our instructors, from Dr. Boltzmann. Mr. Boyd will be meeting with our union representatives to also get feedback. We really want to ensure that we're taking in all perspectives. We also will have our para coaches, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a moment, to be doing follow-up with those who attended this summer to see, so how is it translating? How is it helping them implementing what they've learned, so that we can implement the cycle of moving forward. Mr. Haar will address kind of the role of the para educator coach as it was in this current school year, where we had one para coach position under our teacher retention.
I have one coach position that she went through, started last year. So the idea was that we're going to have a paraprofessional coach who is able to meet with paraprofessionals, go into the school, conduct observations, do fidelity checks, model appropriate techniques, and really do those hands-on and relationship building pieces that we really need. We can go through the academy. We can talk to paras and expose them to different ideas and mindsets, but to really have that relationship in the classroom with a coach who's able to walk you through some of these, some of the hardships that the kids are working with strategies explicitly really made a difference. So we had, with our paraprofessional coach, she was able to go to many sites and meet many paraprofessionals. She focused mostly on helping paras solve problems within their school buildings, with how that relates to students, and also the behavior strategies was something that was also requested a lot.
Scaling that up moving forward, we have 3 paraeducator coach positions this year, again, grant funded. And so we looked at a number of factors to help make decisions on how to geographically place them across the county. And so factors that included disproportionality, districts that were identified as disproportionate at Tier 2 or Tier 3, as well as retention and historical data on retention factors, the number of new staff going through the academy, and intensive support that would be provided there. So here is where we anticipate dividing up those 3 positions. Again, the role and the role responsibilities would remain the same in terms of being focused in on the delivery of professional learning, both at the academy level as well as for veteran staff, ensuring that the professional learning is of high quality, meaning arranging for the job-embedded supports of coaching, observation, and feedback cycles, as well as then ensuring that as coaches, we are collecting the data needed to show impact. When we reference data around impacts, we wanted to share some of those measures that we will be collecting that are kind of working through a continuum of, retention, attendance data at professional learning, some of those kind of counting numbers on down to gathering feedback around the professional learning or program quality. Next, if we have a robust in quality program, how is that translating to improved practices for paraprofessionals, and then the resulting impact. And when we're looking at impact, we're collecting measures around, incorporating measures around student belonging, autonomy, and engagement. So those are just 3 areas. So we wanted to share this snapshot of the data that will be collected as we look towards the next step.
So with that, we'll go into next steps. So with next steps, we'd like to collect that data and then also be doing continuous improvement cycles throughout that first semester and bring that back to the board to share. Because these positions are grant funded, we need to be looking at what the impact is and then what is our sustainability plan for this coaching. More to come. I'd like to open it up for questions.
I have 2 questions, one of which, the wellness camp, that was open to all parents, is correct, not just the new ones?
Correct, that was open to veterans as well.
Perfect. And then, since it was so fabulous, and everyone wanted to go with Dingo, would it, just an idea, putting one over winter break also, since we've got 2 connect, yeah, I don't know how many want to attend over winter break.
Well, I think we would probably have paras wanting to attend. My concern would be staff to staff it, to do the presentations and things because of the holidays.
Right.
That could be a challenge. We could look into it,
Yeah.
But that,
The spring break,
and everybody's spring break is a little bit different. We don't have a countywide spring break yet. We're getting close. We're getting close.
Hazel is the only one that's different.
Yeah, we're getting close. So potentially, that could be an issue. I don't know how fast we could get that pulled up for this year.
And President Patrick, were you asking because, you were thinking that pay, like discrepancy for 2 weeks?
Right.
We did negotiate with
Yeah.
paras that we expanded over winter break, so they aren't going without, so we're gonna give them the time for the wellness time. Enjoy your families, and so that, yeah, but that's, we can offer it during our spring break.
I was just going to say 2 things. First off, thank you guys. And you probably know, but I hope you know, that's important. So that's, I appreciate it. To follow up on what President Patroff said, what can we do and what can you do to amplify the wellness? You have everything you said that sounded like a home run success. So my questions are, how do we expand it? Can we offer it virtually? How do we make sure that all of our parents have the, what we call my career, the CME, to support their education and move it forward? That seems like, if I were somebody wanting this job or in this job, that would be.
So, like we said, we are doing those feedback loops, if you will. One of the things that as we look at expanding, we definitely feel like we need to get our feet a little bit firmer on the ground as far as, the format and making sure we have presenters. Space is also a consideration. So we just want to make sure we have, this was our first round. We've learned a lot this round. We just want to get our feet a little bit firmer before we expand. And so the virtual idea, we can take that back and see what implications might be as well. Towards our president.
Do we know the number of people that signed up? Because we had about 120, and we have wait lists. So, and you said 85% of those 120. So how many people initially signed up for?
Every session had 120, and then the wait list for each session varied, but I would say, I could get you exact numbers, but I'm going to ballpark it. Each wait list was probably between 40 and 50 deep.
Okay.
We closed the wait list at a certain point, and then
Okay.
Some of it's just a matter of routines as well. So if someone unregistered, we do know that Kick-A-Hook, our software did work, because it did notify the next person on the wait list. That person, we saw people coming on the wait list. So that was working. So some of those
is also, communicating and over-communicating to keep doing that. Like, if you know you can't come, unregister. Because that was some feedback too, as folks noticed. We might have folks that just aren't able to come, and somebody who wants to come, they won't lose that seat. So,
One thing that they did do, though, to be proactive about that is, for the folks who didn't come, they did reach out to them and say, hey, if you're not planning on coming, if you just missed this time or this session or today, fine, stay registered. But if you didn't plan on coming, like if something came up, please unregister so the next person could come. And so we did do efforts to, communicate that out so that more folks have the opportunity.
This thing was, if you say 120 people, and then you had 40 to 50, then that's a need that falls in our priorities that we need to. So if there's something that we can do, we're here. And if there's something that you can do, we're asking you to do that.
Building that capacity might be a step in the right direction.
But go on.
Just want to say thank you for including the commentators at the end.
Absolutely.
Just know that it's creating policy.
Thank you again. I was just wondering, on your, the professional academy, paraprofessional academy, second, third year, how many hours are each of those?
Those courses in that, each course is designed to be 10 hours. So we want our paraprofessionals to get 10 hours of professional development each year. And so that course is designed to cover that requirement. So it takes about 10 hours a year.
Here's what I'm asking. Is there a possibility to link in one of the local junior colleges? The reason why I'm to get some type of credit for this. I mean, this is pretty intense. Talking about nice to pick up a couple hours. I mean, we've had at different times where we have wished to have at least provided opportunities for paras to become teachers. This would be an interesting thing. We want to look at, even if a college would come up with a certification in this, this looks like a golf course. And I'm wondering if it might be possible to explore with one, not with UMSL or Maryville, possibly with Flow Valley, or Forest, our Merrimack Community College, because it'd be nice to pick up a couple hours.
That's something we could definitely look into with our partnerships. We do have partnerships with St. Louis Community College, so we can reach out to them.
I know that we have done that for students, when it comes, it'd be nice to do it for staff too.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
And last on our presentation is the presentation of principal and coordinator collaboration tool.
Rita Moore will present on this tool that she's been working on with our partner districts for the past 6 to 7 months.
Good evening, President Patros, members of the board, superintendent, and community. I am Chiquita Moore, Chief Partner District Officer, and today I will be providing you with updates on the principal coordinator collaboration tool. The purpose of this tool, it was designed to ensure that there was collaboration and that the collaboration was face-to-face, but to ensure that there were relationships between principals and coordinators. There are 4 focus areas: communication and accessibility, understanding the coordinator and principal's role in advancing the vision and priorities of organizations, both school districts, collaborative decision-making, as well as partnership in hiring, evaluation, and development of staff. It also supports with consensus and opportunities to ensure that we are collectively addressing barriers that impede the relationship between both districts and to ensure that we're supporting student needs first. This This tool also supports and is directly correlated and aligned to category 3 of the collaboration of resources and responsibilities in the partnership agreement. So how do we ensure that everyone understands that this goes in line with that work? As Dr. Cuneo mentioned earlier about the compliance plan, how do we establish that as that big umbrella, the partnership agreement as that next layer, and ensuring that this principal tool is that final layer of that piece covering all aspects of leadership to support the need first and foremost for students. So as we develop this tool, and looked at the revision of this tool, not necessarily just developing it, we wanted to ensure that we received input from various stakeholders. And so, as Dr. Keenan expressed, we started this past spring with the Superintendent Roundtable Group, sharing this information. You should have before you a copy of the actual tool that was established and has been used for quite some time. And we'll walk through that and the comparison, the difference of where we're going with this tool. Our coordinators and directors have had the opportunity, coordinators were given the opportunity to volunteer to be a part of the committee and provide input. Directors participated in this through our annual retreat this year to give guidance. Our principals and our partner districts through the Principal Institute and participating in sessions were able to provide feedback, as well as our SDNEA this summer providing feedback through our workload committee. We wanted to ensure that we tapped into all of these stakeholders to understand the tool, to understand that the tool is meeting the needs of everyone, and to ensure that, most importantly, we're supporting the students that we serve. So as we are designing this tool, the tool itself, we felt was a great start. We felt that there was a need to just advance that work and to ensure that there were opportunities for everyone to understand what it is we should be doing. And so through that, there was effective collaboration. That's how the tool was established, and then facilitating that collaboration. So are the goals, are they clear? Does it foster open communication and trust? And then where is that active participation and engagement from all members? And then as we facilitate that, what platform do we use to document that work? And so through that, the group that mostly will use this, being the coordinators and principals, what they ask is, how do we ensure that we make this tool an electronic-based tool for them to continue to monitor their work and to capture their work and to go back and to review those pieces. They wanted to ensure that we really focused on providing opportunities to ensure that meetings were scheduled, and that there were opportunities for brainstorming from both ends to ensure that we are, again, meeting the needs of students. And how do we help to define roles and responsibilities? Because we can play the blame game or we can play the game fairly together. And so that's what we wanted to ensure happened through this process and helping everyone to understand that we have to make those decisions collectively. The criteria to measure implementation, we want to ensure through that we analyze data and metrics to evaluate the impact of the overall collaboration tool itself and how we support the delivery of services. How do we come to consensus? How do we ensure that there is active listening and that we receive that and encourage diverse perspectives? And how do we also ensure that we encourage constructive dialogue in a respectful way to reach a common understanding? And do we ensure that we take time to celebrate those successes? And to ensure that everyone is aware of those successes. How do we communicate that? How do we recognize individuals? How do we recognize groups? And how do we share those stories? This is the first section of the partner, the principal tool, the principal collaboration tool. And for some reason, I'm not sure why we have all A's on this area, but it should be A, B, and C. But as you can see, if you were to match this information to the current tool that we have in place, you would see what is different here is providing questions for each of those particular indicators for coordinators and principals to go deeper into their thinking and to respond so that they're able to measure their work, they're able to document their work, and they're able to work together collectively. And so if we take a look here, are meeting times convenient? What are the frequency of the meetings? How are we collaborating? When we're talking about developing the agenda, is it comprehensive? Does it address those key topics? Are there any specific items that should be consistent on as a set agenda, and how do we encourage teams to contribute? And so when we begin to ask questions like this, it requires us to collaborate together versus to just give a number and to say we did it. It gives us that substance that we need to ensure that we're doing the work that we have set for ourselves as leaders to do. And so also with setting norms, what are the guidelines? How do we ensure that that happens? How do we encourage, again, that active participation? And is it equal? Are all members participating? And what are those behaviors and practices that we should encourage and or discourage? I won't read through all of these, but I just wanted to kind of give you a snapshot of where we're going with this tool as we move forward. When we talk about those urgent matters, are they timely? Are we ensuring that there is a designated communication channel? A lot of this came out of negotiations from our teachers, but also through conversations with liaisons as well as our directors and coordinators as well. And how do we ensure that we can avoid communication gaps or delays? And so how do we become more proactive versus looking at practices that we may have that exist, deadlines that we may have that exist, and meeting the immediate and urgent need of students and districts that we serve. Same with difficult conversations. How do we ensure that we create those safe spaces for them to take place? And what strategies, techniques, and tools that may already be established in a district can we utilize versus creating new ways and forms of things to do? We may have those that exist in a district, and we wanted to ensure that we respected the work that is currently in place. And what does that responsiveness look like? How do we promote a culture of responsiveness? What are some of those expectations and guidelines that principals and coordinators can work collectively at that level to ensure that they're able to respond to staffing as well as student needs, parent needs, stakeholder needs through emails and messages? And then how do we track those pending requests? For example, if there is a need for additional resources or furniture in the classroom, how do we ensure that we address an HVAC need and those particular things? These questions will help them to probe and respond in ways that will deliver what we were expecting to see throughout the county. And so category 2 is quite similar. You have each of those areas listed, and we want to ensure that we clearly establish questions to help them to, again, dig deeper into these. And so we have that for each of the categories. I can go through this information if you would like for me to go through each one, and or I can receive questions that you may have at this time.
I like this a lot better than this. I see this as a guided interview. That makes perfect sense to me. This, my problem was is that we were putting numbers on things that didn't have equal. The problem with putting numbers on, we automatically want to add and subtract them. You know, like what is greater? But we don't know. There's no equal measures between. You know, I'm dealing with nominal data. This isn't even ordinal data. This makes sense to me. This is a guided interview. This is general time. I can see why you want to do this.
This information will also coincide with the same practices that we have put in place for the partnership agreement. And so as those presentations are made in our partner districts regarding the partnership agreement as we move forward at the end of this year and next year, we should have baseline information that can be captured with the partnership agreement, because again, this does fall under category 3 of the partnership agreement, and we want to ensure that we're capturing this information and we're being transparent with this information with our district leadership as well as our school leadership, because it's our goal to work together, but it's also our goal to educate each other on those needs in each of the districts as well too, from our different lenses. Any other questions or feedback?
Just want to thank you very much for the I got a question about slide number 5. Mentioning the criteria to measure implementation, and to analyze data and metrics to evaluate the impact of overall collaboration. Can you give us an example of the metrics you're talking about there?
Absolutely.
And will that be, partner district dependent, or are we talking about universal?
And so this would be for each individual school team. So the coordinator and the principal working together. And so we'll be measuring their relationships and their work. So if there is a district that has 13 schools, then there's a possibility that there will be 13 of these. Does that make sense? Because, absolutely. And this is a practice that was in place before Chiquita stood before you today. Correction. And then what was your second piece of the question?
I guess I'm taking a hint there that you have some concerns about that, or do you like that approach?
So I think that the approach would be great. I think that, this has been a Qualtrics tool, so keeping it as an electronic tool will help to support us with receiving that information so that we can take a look at it, just as we've done with the partnership agreement. The partnership agreement is not a Qualtrics tool. It's probably good for us to begin to explore that as an option as well too, versus us, capturing everything by hand and measuring those pieces. But I think that it will provide us with those metrics, the baseline, and for us to see how we are advancing with our work as we move forward.
My question, thank you for the presentation. I'm getting a little bit more confused. Is this the previous or the new tool?
That's the previous.
The previous.
And I just wanted you to be able to see that information.
Thank you. Thank you.
Do I have a motion to approve the consensual items? Or a second?
Before I proceed, I have a question. We had a comment that was made during our public comments about one of the essential items. And this is the first time it was being brought to our attention. I don't think. Oh, is this an item that we have time to get a response from the district to the board before we vote on it? And I don't expect a response necessarily right now. We need time to formulate a response or to.
We are pressed for time, somewhat.
Just phone. Not in the back.
Kenny Mulder, Director of Transportation. That is something we probably need to move fairly quickly on, just so we can establish getting those buses, because everyone's holding on and waiting for us to order, and I don't lose out on our order this year. But, we'd like us to get in some detail in the next couple of days. I don't know if that can be approved outside of a board meeting, or if it would have to wait until the next board meeting for approval.
With the timeline, if we wait until the next board meeting, will we exceed the timeline that you have? I believe the next board meeting is.
And I can't speak to that. I don't know if there would be still the vehicles available, because again, there are limits on the quantity of chassis they can get.
Explain a little bit about the process that you went through to make
Sure.
sure it's competitive and.
So, his concern was that, a couple things, I know it's back at the table, but, the engine was one of his concerns. So we listed ourselves in the RFP proposal, request for proposal, that, we wanted the gas engine, but we would accept an alternate as the diesel because the majority of our fleet is diesel. So we don't want to exclude anyone. That particular vendor does not have a gas engine. So we actually added the alternate in. They bid on that alternate. He also mentioned that there was a potential $400,000 savings to purchase their bus. He's basing that on current fuel pricing. So, diesel versus gas, they're comparable in mileage. It really depends on where pricing is, diesel versus gas price, on if there would or wouldn't be a savings. The initial savings from the bid is $340,000, just over $340,000. So in my mind, I thought, well, 7 months to wait for buses, I can do that to save the district $340,000. So that was my.
Your recommendation, Tess, to just proceed with the vote?
That is my recommendation.
back, we have a motion. Okay. All in favor? Aye. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll have that stay.
Okay. Any opposed? Carried. Next, we have, yes, we have one action item. Do I have a motion for 7.01, admission of a non-resident student? Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, now we have,
I had a question on
Yeah.
that one. That's, I just want to make sure that we're not being taken. And the reason why I bring that up is what happens when you're old. Years ago, Clayton one time admitted a student into one of our schools. What they had was they charged the student Clayton tuition. That student never attended a Clayton school, placed into one of our special schools. Clayton pocketed that tuition and paying for it student. I just want to make sure that this was not happening again, especially since the student was from Clayton. Sure, this was something.
No, sir, he is a legitimate student, this will be.
No, I'm not saying he's not a legit student. I want to make sure, are the parents paying Clayton's tuition?
We invoice them. The invoice comes from us and goes to the parent.
So the parents paying both?
They should pay SSD.
Is this a student who's attending a partner school district primarily and receiving SSD services in that school district, or a student who's going to be attending an SSD school?
What the student was, my understanding is this is a student from the St. Louis school system, correct, that live in the city. They in turn applied to Clayton. They paying Clayton's tuition, I'm guessing?
Tuition's based off of per student expenditure that we calculate.
No, but is Clayton charging tuition too?
That I don't know that if Clayton is charging that student or not.
One reason I'm saying this, we were taking that one, I just wanted to make sure.
Thank you for that question. We can definitely explore that question a little bit further for you to ensure that Clayton is and/or is not receiving tuition. Generally, what would happen if they're attending school in Clayton, Clayton should then have a conversation with that receiving home school district, which would be St. Louis Public, and those conversations about the tuition from that perspective would be between those two. But when it comes to providing special education services, the parents are.
I just want to make sure that this is above board. Anyway, because we were taking one time before.
Sure.
And I know there was a difference with independent Clayton at the time. That became somewhat of a scandal in this district. I don't want to go down that road.
Thank you.
next,
Sorry.
yeah. Then, we'll call it. Okay. So, Amy, can I have a roll call vote, please?
No,
We do a-
just the same. We don't need a roll.
Just, all right, so all in favor for the admission of non-resident students, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. Do I have a motion for the closed meeting of the Board of Education on August 22nd, following this meeting? Roll call vote for that. Second meeting at 3. Also for the September 8th meeting of
The Friday.
2023.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Friday.
At, what time? 3?
3:30.
3:30.
That's included.
All right, now we'll call for that.
Director Asner?
Yes.
Director Cunningham?
Yes.
Director Hudson?
Yes.
Director Ballhorn?
Yes.
Director State? Yes. Vice President Byers?
Yes.
And President Petrov?
Yes. Do I have a motion for 1.02 approval of the minutes? Second? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Carries. Board regulations, I think we're, yeah, we're good on that. Items. Following items were approved during the executive meeting on August 8th, 2023. Employment, resignations, retirement, salary adjustments, and extra duty. Following items were approved during the executive meeting of June 5th, 2023. Employment, resignations, retirement, salary adjustments, extra duty pay, 2 contract release requests, and 2 settlement agreements. For 8.05 board communications, does anyone have anything to share? I just wanted to say thank you to all the teachers and parents of OTs, PTs, everyone for your first day of school, first 2 days of school. Thank you very much. Tommy hasn't cried once. Whoop, whoop. So, everyone's doing excellent. Thanks very much. Calendar of events is online for everyone to see. Do I have a motion for adjourn?
So,
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?